Hey guys, SweetBananaGaming here, coach of your Orlando Solgaleo, here with a Week 4 PGBL battle prep video. Now, if you haven't watched all 3 games, don't bother. We're on a losing streak right now, unfortunately. We've lost all 3 games so far. Kind of rough. I'm not happy to be in that position. However, the more battles I have against these very, very good trainers, the more I realize just the more I have to learn. And I'm learning something new every battle. So, the Week 3 battle, a lot of my problems, well, I could boil down my problems to 2 main things. I mean, aside from the way I played, but 2 things going right into the battle kind of set me up at a disadvantage from the start, I think. One of which being a lot of the main threats that I planned for on the previous team, she didn't actually bring. The Mega Venusaur, the Infernape, even the Empoleon I was preparing for, she didn't bring. She did bring the Electros, the Latios, 2 that I was really planning for, and the Ninetales. I was anticipating those, but I spent a lot of my resources on trying to have ways to destroy the Venusaur, and the Venusaur ended up not being there, so it ended up with a lot of wasted move slots. And then that brings me to part number 2, which is I had 3 Choice Mons on my team, so half of my Pokemon were either Choice Scarfed or Choice Specs, and again, the Choice Specs on the Espeon was just for that little extra power to be able to one-hit KO the Mega Venusaur, which ended up not being there. So really, Espeon did not need to be choiced, and just having those 3 Mons, I scarfed them also to outspeed. None of my Pokemon were going to outspeed the Latios, except that Espeon would be in a speed tie, but I wanted to outspeed Infernape, I wanted to outspeed Terrakion. Terrakion did end up coming, but Infernape wasn't there, Venusaur wasn't there, which is what I had the choice specs for, so having those choice items on my Pokemon, not only did they not serve the purpose that I wanted them to serve, because she didn't bring the Mons that those items were specifically targeted towards, but also they put me in a difficult position as is, where I would get, because Landorus, it was Landorus, Bisharp, and Espeon, and they were doing really good damage to my opponent's team, but what would end up happening was they each got 1 KO, and they would get a KO, and she'd switch into something that they couldn't take on so easily, and I'd either have to hard switch something to take free damage, or just, keep spamming the same not very effective move until my Pokemon got KO'd. So it put me in a really tight spot. And then, of course, also the way I played was another difficulty. I did not play at my best. I was a little caught off guard again. It was kind of like the Week 1 battle, but I do think that this time around also, my team was not set up very well, because I had a plan for specific Pokemon, and she ended up not bringing those Pokemon. So I went through a little bit of a mini crisis as far as what to do with my team for this week, because I feel like I needed to change. For one thing, I've been bringing Charizard to every match. I really considered not bringing the Charizard, because everybody, expects Charizard, and they want to get their rocks up. So, well, actually, Week 1, he threw me off by not having any rock setters, but that's another story altogether. But in general, people want to get their rocks up against me because they know I have a Charizard. And so I thought, well, maybe I better throw them off and not bring the Charizard. I mean, hey, being thrown off worked against me, it could work against them as well. But I also had some secondary thoughts, and kind of just discussing with people about my overall, the way I've been approaching the team building. And I feel like what I've been doing is trying to tailor a team that works for the specific Pokemon that I think my opponent's going to bring. And in Week 2, you saw it worked pretty well. The one I kind of threw away that it was a victory. It was mine to lose. I just didn't do my calcs on Magearna. But in general, other than the Magearna, I brought my team specifically tailored for what I thought he would bring, and he pretty much brought everything I thought he would bring. And I had a pretty good, fairly even match where I had some upper hand for some of the time. And then the Week 3 battle, I focused most of my energy on certain Mons that I thought she was very likely to bring, and I ended up in a position where I was not ready. I mean, I probably still could have managed myself better if I had played better, but like I said, again, between the mons I brought and picking the choice items specifically to take on Pokemon that she didn't bring, it put me in a bad position starting out. Now, maybe a more experienced and better player could have fought their way out of it anyway, but I was compromised in that way, and it hurt me. I'm not as experienced as I need to be yet to handle that kind of a situation where I'm thrown off like that. But anyway, getting to how I decided to approach making the team for this week. I'm going to get into the details, and there's a reason I'm not showing you who I picked yet. Because originally I was going to say, okay, I'm not going to pick the Charizard. I'm going to pick something completely different. I thought, first I thought, oh, you know, Slowbro can do some good work against this team. I can tank, even a Thunder Punch, I think, for the Mega Medicham. I could tank pretty well. I'd be an okay answer to Zygarde. A couple other things, a good answer to the Primeape, and then I'm like, bring Espeon as to Magic Bounce to throw off the Smeargle, and then bring the Latias and Defog, so I have another hazard removal option. Like, so I was starting along that route, and then I realized all these mons I've said are absolutely, are like really necessary to do a lot of work against this team, but there's 3 Psychic types. That's 3 Dark weaknesses, 3 Ghost weaknesses, and 3 Bug weaknesses, and that's not a good situation to put myself in at all. So I kind of went back, started from scratch, and I said, okay, remember during the draft, I said I drafted 5 out of the 6 members of my Mega Charizard team that I've used on stream. So I thought, okay, I want to use those 5. Because I know they work together on a team. Rather than trying to plan specifically for this other team what I think he might bring and then having an unbalanced team, why don't I put together a team that I already know is pretty balanced? So I started out with those 5. And then to add a 6th, I've really wanted to use Electivire for a long time, so I added Electivire to that. So now, let me get into this here. I'm going to actually break down what I've got over here. Where is the week 4? Week 4 over here. Alright, so what you're going to see, first of all, is, oh, this Charizard is not shiny, and look at that moveset. Well, that's not a mistake. I am doing something different, rather than, like, I thought, okay, instead of not bringing the Charizard altogether, when I bring the Charizard, but I've got a new plan, I'm going to have a new Charizard with a mixed set. Fully trained in physical attack, because if you didn't realize, Mega Charizard X, or Mega Charizard Y still has a pretty darn good attack stat. And even with minimal special attack investment, my special attack is still higher than my physical attack. So I can still do some really good damage. And it's a thing that people aren't going to expect. People haven't seen it before, so they won't really realize it until maybe they come in and see it's a different Charizard. But it's going to be something that isn't planned for as often. It also allows me a good opportunity, well, the moveset here. Flare Blitz, Earthquake, Dragon Dance, and Dragon Pulse. And I'm going to get to that Dragon Pulse because there's a few moves on this team, and I'll get to each one of them. There's a few moves on this team that I'm not totally decided on. I'm between a few things, and I have to just kind of make a judgment call on it. But right now, this is the moveset I have. Flare Blitz just does insane damage. Flare Blitz has the opportunity to one-hit KO Mega Medicham, Primeape, Ferrothorn, Gengar, and if Silvally is normal type or another neutral type, I can almost one-hit KO Silvally. Now, all these calcs are in the sun, but that's before any boost, and that's like with physical Flare Blitz. So Flare Blitz just does an insane amount of damage. Now, obviously, if I ended up in a situation, I couldn't KO all of those mons in a single battle because of all the recoil damage I'd take. However, basically, Flare Blitz is a big nuke that I can use on a lot of different things. And imagine, and that's like, again, not Dragon Dance boosted. If I can get a Dragon Dance up, that's actually so much the better, because that would guarantee me to outspeed the Mega Medicham. Now, I do outspeed the Mega Medicham if it's adamant. However, if he runs Jolly, which I would expect him to. Oh, by the way, we're fighting the Seattle Silvallys this week, just in case. I didn't mention it, but, you know, the team's there, the logo's down there. I didn't mention it formally, but there you go. So, he might, I think he might run Jolly on the Medicham, just expecting like, to get into that speed tie with Mega Charizard, because, also, if I put Air Slash instead of Dragon Pulse, which is something I have to think about. Oh, I think I did want to put Air Slash instead of Dragon Pulse, because it OHKOs Mega Medicham and Primeape. And, whereas Dragon Pulse, I kind of had for Zygarde, but it doesn't even come close to, it doesn't, even two-shot it with this spread, so I think I will put Air Slash. Let me just put that right here. The other move I was thinking of putting on there was Solar Beam, but really that would be just for the Starmie, and I have a good amount of other answers to the Starmie. I have 2 other really good answers to the Starmie. Really 3 good answers to the Starmie, from the rest of my team, so I think Air Slash would be better. Flare Blitz is more than enough, so I mean, you could say I don't need to risk the miss with Air Slash with the accuracy, but it's just there as another, like, if I don't want to take the recoil damage for whatever reason, maybe it's early game. But anyway, going back to, I want a way to figure out if the, I figure I need a way to figure out if the Mega Medicham is, Jolly or Adamant. I don't know that I have a way to do that. Do I have anybody else with, hold on one second. I checked my, base speeds over here. I have anybody else who's, this is the wrong one. I don't know where my, oh, mine is in here? Mine is in here. It was in here the whole time. Well, one way I could find out is, by sending out the Shaman against him. Now, it's not something I want to do in general because, Mega Medicham will most likely be carrying Ice Punch. Anything else that's the same base speed? Alright, I have nothing else to test that out for sure, but, I don't know if I'd have a way of knowing, but anyway, there is a chance I outspeed it, because there's a chance he goes for Adamant for the extra, just the extra punch, no pun intended. Mega Medicham definitely a big threat, hits like a truck. But, yeah, I think I'll run Air Slash over Solar Beam. But anyway, back to the point here. Earthquake is kind of there for big damage. I could replace that with a different move, like maybe Flamethrower for the Ferrothorn if I don't want to bother taking recoil damage. I might reconsider the Earthquake just because he has two potential immunities, although I don't expect him to bring the Charizard, but you never know. At least the Gengar is weak to Earthquake. Earthquake is an easy one-hit KO of Gengar. So, again, a couple of these moves are subject to change. But anyway, Dragon Dance is going to be key. If I can get off a Dragon Dance, I think I probably don't outspeed the Gengar still, because or the Starmie. Well, I don't know. The Starmie might not be fully invested, but the Gengar will likely be Scarfed. Could be Specs, but most likely be Scarfed with a Trick Set. I mean, he doesn't have to run it in this case, but that just running a Scarf on Gengar is so good because it's already got a great special attack stat. And it already naturally either speed ties or outspeeds everything on my team. However, he might want to guarantee outspeed the Latias, so I can predict a Scarf set. But anyway, if I can get +1 with Dragon Dance, I believe I should easily outspeed everything else he's got. Other than maybe the Starmie. I'm not sure, I haven't done the calc on that. But that's roughly what we're doing here. We're running a mix set here with the Charizard. As far as Dragon Dance, I'll have to make sure I get into an advantageous position to use Dragon Dance. I think even if I get in on a Starmie, I need to look at this again. If I'm in on the Starmie, depending on its investment, no, I think even max special attack Starmie does not touch me very much, even with like a Thunderbolt. It does not do a lot of damage. It's not a 2-shot. So that might be really good. Starmie might be decent setup fodder if I end up in that situation. But yeah, alright, let's move on anyway to the next Mon on our team is good old Michelin. He's here, he's same old, I think. I'm gonna keep Ice Shard though instead of Roar, just so I have options that can hit anybody. I might put Roar back on. Because the only thing that bothers me is the Zygarde potentially setting up, because I know he runs he runs a he has run a variation on the subcoil set on Zygarde. So I might go back on that and put Roar back on instead. But for right now, I'm thinking Ice Shard, just do, it could come in handy to do some little extra damage. Got the Stealth Rocks on there just because I'm gonna want the rocks if by chance he brings the Charizard, it'll help neuter that. Just do some chip damage on everything else, because there are some things that I might just miss out on one-hit KOing, and that could help out with that. Do 25% to the Zapdos, which Zapdos is more than likely going to be a bulky set, so any chip damage I can get on the Zapdos is great. And that's about it. Earthquake, in case I need to hit something hard, it's more than enough for the Gengar for sure. Now, Ice Shard on Donphan does enough to Zygarde. It does about 30 to 35% if it's a specially invested Zygarde. That's before any coiling, though. But it's more than enough to break a substitute, which is why I'm thinking of keeping it. However, I think Roar, I'll have to think about that. I'll have to test it out, because I have tested this current set on Showdown, and so far it's working pretty well. Now, that's against random people of various skill levels, but it's been working pretty well so far. But anyway, I won't spend too much time on Michelin because you know him pretty well. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to Maui the Shaman. Took a break the last 2 weeks, but he's back. Gonna rock the Life Orb on him this time around. I have to remember he has Natural Cure because if I get poisoned or whatever, just swap him out and it's all good. Okay, we're gonna run Seed Flare because it does insane amount. Earth Power, Synthesis, and I swapped out Hidden Power Electric for Dazzling Gleam because in this match in particular, Hidden Power Electric is not doing me any good, really. Because, I mean, the Starmie, it's redundant because I already have Seed Flare. And, let's see. Hidden Power Electric, I have to watch out for Zygarde with the immunity. The only thing it would really be good for is the Charizard. But again, I don't want to make bold predictions about what he's going to bring or not going to bring, but let's just say I'm not... If he brings the Charizard, I have other things for it. I mean, namely my own Charizard and the Electivire. I have my own kind of answers to it, and Latias, I guess. I don't need to concern myself too much. However, I will put Dazzling Gleam, because, let me see what calcs I have. It does, on a medium to high roll, it one-shots the Primeape. It almost two-shots the Zygarde. Again, I'm expecting the Zygarde to be specially bulky. At least that's what the typical subcoil set is. It can, on the highest of high rolls, one-hit KO the Mega Medicham. So even if it doesn't, I do just crazy damage to it. So that's why Dazzling Gleam is on there. And, Earth Power one-shots the Gengar. I have to watch out, though, because, Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave could potentially one-hit KO me on a high roll. But I do tank Zygarde. I tank Zygarde very well. So actually, Maui is a decent answer to Zygarde. If its only attacking move is Thousand Arrows, which if he runs the Subcoil set, well, I've seen a set where he ran Substitute, Coil, Dragon Dance, and Thousand Arrows. If he runs that set or a similar set where Thousand Arrows is his only attacking move, I'm sitting very pretty because I think he'd have to be +3 before he can really do some damage to me with Thousand Arrows. So I scare it out. At the very least, I break the sub easily. And even then, Seed Flare actually does a little bit more than Dazzling Gleam, but just Dazzling Gleam is more reliable. So if I want to break a substitute because of the accuracy, I would go for Dazzling Gleam. But Seed Flare does have that small chance to lower special defense by 2 stages. So when he's not substituted, when he's not using substitute, it might be worth clicking Seed Flare just for that little extra damage and that chance to lower special defense. But also Seed Flare easily one-hit KOs Starmie. It one-hit KOs Primeape, I believe. So there's that. Earth Power one-hit KOs Gengar, I talked about that. So yeah, this thing is here to just hit things hard. I got Synthesis to recover some HP if I run into a good situation. Maybe I feel like I'd probably scare the Zygarde out, or at the very least, if I don't right away, once I break its sub, that might scare it out. So I might be good to synthesis on that. I don't know. It's gonna be a situational thing. So let's move on. Making his, I have not added his nickname yet. Making his first appearance in the PGBL officially, we have Ampere, the Electivire, Life Orb, Motor Drive. Motor Drive is if I bait the Zapdos into, like, against, let's say, Charizard. I think that's the only time where I'm really baiting him into an electric move. But switch in here, get the Motor Drive, get that speed boost. I don't know. I mean, that'll make me faster than the Zapdos, I'm almost certain, depending on his investment. I just realized that I did not... Did I really not EV you? I've been testing this team in Showdown, and I'm like, did I really not EV you? Well, you've been doing pretty well for not being... I forget where the other 4 are on my actual Ampere here, but you're Jolly... I forget whether these 4 are in defense or special defense for real, but there you go. Okay, now you were already doing pretty well in Showdown. Maybe this time you'll do even better. But okay, so there's my set. Cross Chop is there just if the Silvally by chance is normal type, because I've seen more normal type Silvally. If it's normal type, it's a one-shot easily, and easy one-shot to Kamala and to Smeargle, although I can anticipate Smeargle for sure being sashed to guarantee he gets some hazards up. Smeargle's gonna be another story entirely. I'll maybe address him in a little bit. Thunder Punch, one-hit KOs Starmie and Charizard if he chooses to bring it. Now Charizard gets Earthquake, as I know because mine has it, so if he brings the Charizard, I have to be aware of that. However, if well, I'll have to see. If I can get a Motor Drive off, maybe, I'll be in a good situation, because at base 100, nothing base 100 should be able to threaten me for speed. Ice Punch, on the highest of high rolls, if Zygarde hasn't coiled already, can one-hit KO the Zygarde. And even minimum roll, it does like 85%, so it's pretty good. And Zapdos, even if Zapdos is physically defensive, I can get almost into 2-shot range on the Zapdos. So, you're gonna be doing a lot of work here, Ampere. Ampere, with Fire Punch, cannot quite one-shot the Ferrothorn, which kind of stinks. Especially, I have to watch out for Iron Barbs anyway if I'm gonna be hitting it physically. I might have to take this thing out piece by piece. But it's an option. Just Ampere has just really good coverage. I have to, you know, be mindful of the Life Orb, but the Life Orb damage is worth it. I don't think I want a choice. If you notice a pattern here, I'm not having any choice Mons in this battle. Now, that might be an extreme. I have 3 Life Orb Mons instead, but one of my Life Orb Mons, which is Maui, has Synthesis, has Natural Cure. I have a way to recover from that. So really, it's just having the downsides for 2 Life Orb Mons, and I'm gonna get to my third one, which, actually, I don't know if this is gonna be Kagero or if this is gonna be a new build of Red Ranger. Well, whatever, I'm getting a new Bisharp made. Yet again, every single game I've had another Bisharp made because there's always some egg move or some tutor move that is missing. This time the move in question is Sucker Punch. I'm putting Sucker Punch in this one. Jolly with Defiant, Life Orb, as I mentioned, Knock Off, Iron Head, Brick Break, Sucker Punch, a mostly self-explanatory thing here. Sucker Punch does up to 76% to Mega Medicham. So, if I've got the Mega Medicham with some chip damage, or let's, like, other way around, let's say, if it's, like, not adamant, for example, I get it down with the Sucker Punch. I kind of have Bisharp as a bit of a suicide attacker here. Sucker Punch to get really good damage on that Medicham, take the fall, send something else in to revenge kill it. That would be an excellent way to do things if it should turn out that way. Let's see. I also one-hit KO the Gengar with Sucker Punch, but if I'm up against the Gengar, I would be wary of either Trick, predicting the Sucker Punch, or Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp probably be more likely. So really, if I end up Kagero versus Gengar, I probably switch to Charizard. Or maybe to Maui, because I'm a special attacker and I can always switch out and get rid of the burn. But with Maui, I'd have to be careful knowing that it can Sludge Bomb me to death. But anyway, let's see. Ironhead, I did not write down any calcs for Ironhead, mainly because I don't... Ironhead is not necessarily... Well, actually, I should check how it does against his normal types, and just see how well I fare there. But Ironhead was just there for Powerful Stab. I might replace... Well, I might as well mention it on here. I might replace one move on one of my Pokemon with Protect. Just for general scouting purposes. Actually, the best possible example is if I end up against the Mega Medicham, Protect for various reasons. 1, get around Fake Out. 2, get around... If he brings High Jump Kick, I don't know that he would risk it for the recoil damage. He might prefer Drain Punch, but either way I get to scout him out, use up his Fake Out turn, and then I can Sucker Punch him. And just profit, I guess. Let's see. Knockoff, guaranteed to one-hit KO Gengar and Starmie, which, not too surprising. I have to watch out for Focus Blast from Gengar as well. But depending on what he runs, I would expect the Will-O-Wisp, although maybe knowing Bisharp, if he brings Gengar, he might have Focus Blast instead. We shall have to see. Whether he'll bring Starmie or Ferrothorn, I feel like if he brings one or the other, he'd be more likely to bring Starmie, just because Ferrothorn kind of dies easily to Charizard, especially if he thinks I'm running my usual set. With Flamethrower, I'll just be flamethrowing all the things. Although with Starmie, he'd have to watch out for the Solar Beam, but I think if he brings his Spinner, well, on the other hand though, he would probably bring the Ferrothorn to set rocks anyway. I don't know. It depends. Unless, well, he'll bring Smeargle. He'll probably bring Smeargle as a rock setter and a web setter. So, maybe he won't bring either, but if he's gonna bring one of the two, he would be more likely to bring Starmie, I think, because it can Thunderbolt or Thunder my Charizard. Which, if that's the case, I could switch into Ampere, but then I'd have to watch out for Scald. I don't know, it's a situational thing. Again. Alright, moveset, pretty good. Alright, Brick Break. That can do up to like 80% to Silvally if it's normal type, so that's what that is there for. I don't know that he's got anybody that would be running screens. So, let's get to our final member. It's Latias, but it's not the defensive McMuffin you knew before. No, this instead is an offensive nuclear Latias with Draco Meteor, Psyshock, Defog, and really fourth move to be determined. I'll explain that in a minute. With the Dragonium Z, let me tell you how good this devastating Drake is. I mean, I can use it to one-hit KO the Mega Medicham and the Zygarde. Well, either or, because I can only use it once. But then, even without that, Draco Meteor on the highest of high rolls can one-hit KO Mega Medicham. It can do 85% to Zygarde, the Subcoil set. So that's with a significant special defense investment. I can almost one-shot the Zygarde. I can do more up to 65% to the Zapdos, which is pretty good for that tanky thing. And really, I should still be doing pretty good damage. I'll do about half that, like those percentages. After I've already used one Draco Meteor, my special attack will be lowered 2 stages. I'll do about half that to anything else. That's still a lot of damage. So between Z move, full strength Draco Meteor, and half strength Draco Meteor, I would still be doing a really good amount of damage. So that is that. Now, Psyshock, one-hit KO's Primate, depending on its investment, but definitely an offensive one. One-hit KO's the Gengar. I have to do the calcs. Oh, Shadow Ball from Gengar on this set does up to 85% to me, so unless it's Spexed, it would do more. But I wouldn't necessarily want to stay in on the Gengar. However, if I have to, I can live one hit from it, and then one-hit KO it with Psyshock. Alright, Defog is there for, if I, lose my Spinner in Donphan, I have a last resort. Even if it gets rid of my hazards, I can just get rid of all hazards on the field. And I've got the speed to do it. So that is that. And then the last move, I'm between Recover, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Healing Wish. Really more so between Recover, Thunderbolt, Recover, Ice Beam, and Healing Wish. Ice Beam does 60 up to 61% to Zapdos and up to 80% to the Zygarde. Draco Meteor does do more, but given the fact that I have limited use of Draco Meteor, given the special attack drop and the lower power points, it might be good to have a second option. Now, Thunderbolt does a lot to the Starmie, which I might want an option to do a lot to the Starmie. I mean, I think Draco Meteor might be able to one-hit KO it because Starmie is not that defensive. Not at all. It's kind of frail, kind of even more frail than I thought it was. But it's fast, which is its main plus. But Recover, I was thinking just to get myself to live longer as another option. Or Healing Wish, which the thought process there was, if it's the end of the line for Latias and if my team's worn down, I want to send someone in and get their health restored, just have that as sort of a last resort. But it depends. I would like an extra coverage option as well. Because actually having Ice Beam, I'd have to check, but having Ice Beam makes Latias a pretty good switch-in for the Zapdos. So, I don't know, that's gonna be one of the things I need to do some thinking on. I could also put Protect on this thing as well. But anyway, there's my team. I've talked on for like 30 minutes, and I said I was gonna try to keep these things a little bit not too rambly. There's the general plan. Some of these movesets might change. The other thing with the Smeargle, you notice I didn't bring a web setter, even though there's a couple of instances where speed control against the Gengar, the Starmie, and the Medicham would be very nice. But I did not bring the web setter because of the possibility of Primeape, and of Primeape being defiant. You saw in the last game how me forgetting about competitive Milotic didn't help matters for me at all. And also with the Magic Bounce on Espeon, if I Magic Bounce the web that I could imagine Smeargle would set, if I Magic Bounced it, then he might want that to set up his Defiant Primeape. So that's why I decided to avoid that, just go for rocks, and I'll just focus on getting rid of his hazards that he sets up for me. So, long story short, I tried to make this team and test it on Showdown in such a way that I could practice being prepared for anything rather than trying to prepare for specifics, just in case he brings something completely different. But I would imagine, just so you guys know, if I had to tell you what I think he would be most likely to bring, I would say the Medicham, just because you can't pass up that power. The Zygarde, for the Subcoil strategy. I would want to say Gengar for the speed and special attack. Silvallys because it can be anything. Zapdos because it's bulky and it's a defogger. And then Smeargle to set hazards. I feel like those are the most likely. With that being said, he could definitely bring... He could very easily bring the Starmie. He could easily bring the Primeape, easily bring the Ferrothorn. He could easily bring any of these guys. So that's why my general plan is to try to just have as balanced of a team as I can that's ready for anything as I can possibly be. So that's my strategy, guys. Let's see if we have better luck with this week's battle. If you want to cheer on your Orlando Solgaleo, go ahead and leave a like down below if you made it to the end of this video. Leave a comment showing your support. You guys have been so great. You've been so great supporting me through these rough times, me making all my mistakes and learning lessons every time. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to get a win for you guys, just to show you guys, because you deserve it. But in the meantime, you'll just have to wait until tomorrow to find out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for Game 4 of the PGBL Orlando Solgaleo versus Seattle Silvallys. See you then.